Welcome back. I'm Ann Beal, and I am here with Christy and Kevin Beam. We're talking about their book, Miracles from Heaven. The movie is called Miracles from Heaven. Catch the trailer, go to the movie, read the book. And it is Miracles from Heaven by Christy Beam, about their daughter, Annabelle, and their family through an incredible illness and a miracle after an accident.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And it is a wonderful story. And so we're in their home here in Cleburne, right on the edge of Burleson, Texas. And they were just getting into her daughter's illness. Annabelle had, well, I thought it was pseudo-obstruction and motility disorder, which it was in the beginning. And then they got a new name for it. Mm-hmm. Is that a more severe illness?
It's just different.
What's it called?
Antral hypomotility disorder. Yes.
Okay. All right.
And she actually had both, right? It wasn't one or the other. It was
there's two.
Yeah. She had the pseudo-obstruction, and then later the antral hypomotility was diagnosed. And that more had to do with the stomach not having the ability to suck the food down into the intestines and do the peristalsis. So it was not only her intestines that weren't working, her stomach as a muscle was weak and floppy and wasn't working.
So she was, the year before she fell, she was in and out of the hospital 9 times.
Correct.
For actual hospital stays. Correct. We're not talking emergency room visits. We're talking hospital stays.
Correct.
In Boston.
Not all in Boston.
Not all in Boston.
Some were in Austin, and some were here, and some were in Boston. They were all over. And numerous times were we in Boston, but those were typically we would fly in and do a check-in and a check-up, and then we would fly out the next day. So,
and that's, again, because of those specialists that were in different places. And the medicine that you had her on, which is in the book, was the doctor in Boston.
Correct.
He actually used that medicine.
Yes.
Right. And there were only a few doctors that did that.
Absolutely.
And so so you knew it was severe.
Yes.
And one of the things when I was watching different TV shows, you've visited Today's Show, all the worldwide media tour you've been on, the Whirlwind, they don't really go into much. They just have you kind of tell what it is. Mm-hmm. Now, you said the 700 Club went in more detail.
They did.
And the Today Show did another one that was much more involved. Because to just say motility disorder, and then they also have never heard of that, right? Mm-hmm. And I just thought, oh my gosh, people need to know what that is.
Yes.
And I guess my question for you when we were talking about it is, did she ever find any relief?
Sometimes once we were hospitalized and they would put her in PO, which means nothing to eat or drink, and they just did IV fluids and her intestines rested, then after a day or two of absolutely nothing putting any stress on the intestines, she would go down to about a pain level of 3. But she rarely ever got to 0 pain. So her pain would get to a 3 and sometimes a 2 maybe, but she pretty much hovered when her no pain was hovering at a 2 or a 3. Like that was a good day. But typically she hovered between 8 and 10 daily.
And most people with chronic pain, they hover at 3 or 4. And they don't, it's just an ongoing pain, chronic.
Yes.
And they can get severe at times, but the chronic pretty much stays around 3 or 4. So this is a little girl having constant pain.
Correct. And she was on 10 medications to make her system work, but none of them gave her relief. They all just worked together to help her system work as best as they could help it to work. But none of them was like, oh, can I have my medicine that I get it every 4 hours to stop the pain? Because narcotics and things like that would truly dull and numb the pain would slow down the GI tract. So she couldn't really take anything that would actually add relief.
Wow.
Yeah. And she, it was so struggling too or challenging for her because, there's so much of a social component to eating. And, she would go and want to go to a birthday party and be with a friend and, or even just us sitting here around the dining room table. And it's, we're trying to have a family time and be able to hang out and talk. And she would numerous times just kind of excuse herself and say, well, I think I'm just gonna go up and go to bed, and unfortunately she never was. It wasn't that she wasn't hungry. She just knew the association between if I put food in my mouth, my pain level increases. And so it was a challenge for her, in a lot of different ways, because she wouldn't be in as much pain until she would eat, but she knew she needed to eat and she was hungry. So, part of her wanted to eat. And they were, nighttime seemed to be the worst because it would be kind of the end of the day and she'd have a lot of food maybe that she had been able to ingest over the day, and it just wasn't moving and it was sitting there and causing the distension, causing various problems and pain. And so there were a lot of times that literally we would just have to kind of put her to bed and she'd, say, Mommy or Daddy, I'm really hurting. And there really wasn't an answer. It was just like, we know, baby. And, why don't you just try and go to sleep? And maybe when you wake up in the morning, you'll feel a little better. And
stay right here. We'll be right back.